Good morning. Good morning. All right. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Let me see. Let me see if I can get this camera how I want it. Yeah, I'm trying to get this camera how I want it. What outfit say? Put it on the TV in the living room. Oh, I think I got that camera. All right. So I am waiting for Miss J to enter into the studio. I don't really like that. Let me see. Alright. I don't like. Hmm. I don't like this. Okay. Um. I'm looking for Jay. I'm going to be interviewing. Don't call me half breed, but I'm gonna call her Jay because she don't want to be called. Don't call me half breed, and she's trying to figure out how to get in. So that way. Hmm, what you mean? I can't do that right now. Do it from your phone, babe. Um, so I'm waiting for Don't Call Me Half Breed. I'm trying to see where she at. Okay, I see you. I see you. Let me drop the link again for you, Half Breed. So um that way you can come up. Half Breed, you got the link? So you guys had a good weekend? Had a good Thanksgiving. Did you eat a lot? Did you get a lot of turkey? I did. I did. All right, Harpreet, where you at? Oh, she said, hold on for a second. Today we are going to be focusing on domestic violence. We are going to be talking about focus on domestic violence, how to prevent it. We're gonna be talking to Miss J. Miss J is going to be explaining to us like what her situation, because she actually lived through, survived domestic violence. And I am excited to hear what she got to say. I never went through domestic violence. I I I am lost on that topic, but I am willing to learn. Um, I I made a comment that I think Jay didn't like the comment that I made, and so me and her started discussing it. And my thing is, if you're disagreeing with somebody, I think if you and a person are going back and forth, it's hard to go back and forth on a text. I think that you got to get on the phone. Y'all got to chop it up so that way you can kind of understand each other's side, right? And so when we start disagreeing, I immediately jumped in her inbox. I tried to call her because I didn't want I don't want us to have a disagreement because it could be something that I'm just ignorant in and I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And being that Jay went through domestic violence, she survived it. I'm ready to hear her testimony. I'm ready to hear what she got to say because I think my comment was just being ignorant. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, Jay, we was talking about the Cassie and Diddy situation, right? And I was saying that like, girl, why you didn't call the police or why you didn't go to your mama house? Like, you should have been safe. And Jay was explaining to me that it's not that easy. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes, like, you know, stuff happen, and that's the reason why people don't leave. And Jay, I'm gonna let you take over. I want you to. Okay, my first question to you is, where did you? If you, we can switch his name, whatever you want to call him, we'll call him that, right? Because I know you got kids, and this is the internet. Stuff don't die. So let's change the names, right? But I want to know. My first question to you is, where did y'all meet?
School.
So you was still, yeah, both of y'all was still in school, or was you, both of y'all was still in school?
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Okay.
hey, girl.
I am so happy you here to explain everything because I'm telling you, Jay, like, I don't have experience in that area. So I am just so excited to hear what you going, because I know what you're gonna say is gonna bless somebody, right? And somebody gonna go like this. You know what? We getting to that point. I'm in this or something, and it's gonna click to them, right? So I'm excited. I'm excited to hear that, right? So y'all met in school. How old were you when y'all first started?
I was 15.
And how
I
old
was
he was?
15. He was 18.
Okay. Okay. And so how old were you? Okay, what came first? Did isolation come first? Did isolation?
No, not at all.
Okay. Tell me
Mm-mm.
what came first.
So I was never physically isolated. See, you can be physically isolated and you can be mentally isolated. I was never physically isolated, but I was mentally isolated in the fact that you don't talk about it.
Okay. Let me mute my phone. I don't want nobody interrupting me today. This gonna be good. I just feel
But
it like
maybe,
this gonna be good,
let me
Jay.
just say this: mental isolation is self imposed. It's not
Okay.
imposed by the other person, it's imposed by you because you don't want nobody to know what you're going through. You don't want
Okay.
nobody to hear what it is that you're going through because you know what they're gonna say. And you know it makes sense, but you're not ready to hear
You
it
don't
and
want
you
to
don't
hear
want to
it.
do it.
Okay. Okay. So a person isolating themselves from their family, that's not coming from him or the abuser, right? That's coming from them.
So if it's a physical isolation, that's coming from the other person. But if it's a mental isolation, that's usually self-imposed.
Okay. And okay, so y'all met at 15. How old were you when you had your first child?
I got pregnant at 16
Okay.
and I had her at 17, right after I turned about almost exactly a month after my 17th birthday.
Okay. So was it, when did the abuse start? Was it during your pregnancy, after you had your baby, a couple of years? Like, bring us to how did the abuse start and how long was it, and did the kids see it? Like, I want to know. I'm sorry, I just want to know.
So it always starts off small. It never starts off big, like, oh, he beat the heck out of you. Because if they just go straight into beating the heck out of you, you're gonna leave, right?
Right.
If they just jump for the first time they ever put their hands on you or do anything to you physically, and they just jump straight into beating you down, you ain't gonna stick around for that. So they and honestly, here's what I want to say too. Honestly, a lot of times, hold on, let me get my coffee because it's still early over here.
Okay. I told y'all this is gonna be good. I sure want to know. Because I mean, I just never been in it, right? So I'm curious to know, like, did it start with a push? I'm so curious to know how did it come? How did it start? Like, what was the first thing he did for you to know that, okay, I'm in it? But you probably didn't know you was in it while you was in it, right?
Right.
So
I didn't
what
know.
was the first thing that happened that you can think back to now to say that was a part of it?
Yep. I can tell you the exact first time because I remember it just
I know you do.
it just sticks in my mind. And it's something, it's big, but it's not big. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a little girl raised in poverty. We see this every day. This ain't nothing new. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the very first thing the very first thing that happened, I was pregnant. I was good and pregnant.
With the first?
With the first one, with the first child.
Okay.
And it was hot. It was still hot outside. And this child was born, end of July. So that tells you that if it's hot outside and she's born at the end of July, I was pretty far along in my pregnancy when this happens. And I was laying on the bed.
I need to just.
And I had the fan on me and a spray bottle because I was hot. I was spraying myself with the spray bottle sitting in front of the hot outside, right? And he come in the bedroom and he wanted to play, just horse plays. Really, he wanted to wrestle around and jump on me and stuff. And I'm irritated. I'm like, get off of me, man. It's hot. Get off of me. And he was still playing. So I pushed him kind of hard. I was like, get off of me. And he rolled over and pushed me completely off the bed till I hit the floor. And he was mad because I tried to push him off of me. That was the first thing that happened.
Wow. Okay.
So
now, were y'all living together, or were you at his people house or your people house? Y'all was living together. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Actually, my mom owned her house. It was a half double. I don't know if y'all call them half double where y'all at, but it's basically like a townhouse where there's one house on one half and a half.
We call it duplex.
Right? Where I'm from, we called them half doubles. And my mama owned them and she let us live in the other side.
Okay. Okay.
So she lived on one side, we lived on the other.
Okay. So when did so how did it progress? You know what I'm saying? Like, was it after you had the baby? Were you on baby 2? You got four kids by him, right? So how did the was it, you wasn't fighting him because it wasn't fights, right?
Not at that point. No,
okay.
Not at that point. The fights didn't happen until a ways down the line. Because at first it was just like, and let me say this before I get all the way into it. This is the thing about domestic violence. Domestic violence doesn't always come from somebody who wants to be abusive. They don't go into it thinking like, oh, I'll hit a beat. You know what I'm saying? I'll slap her, I'll do this, I'll do that. A lot of times they don't go. Now, there are some that do, but most of them don't go into that thinking that, and they don't see themselves as that type of person.
Okay.
But yet they get angry and it happens. I look so stiff, child. What's going on? Relax. But yeah, most abusers when we're talking about just domestic violence. We're not talking about like the Diddy type of stuff, because Diddy was calculated and he had a plan, and that's what he was going to do. But most abusers don't go into it thinking that they're an abuser or wanting to put their hands on somebody, but something in their head clicks when they're angry, and it just happens.
Wow. Okay. So so when at what point did it become like full on abuse? Like how did you it, bring us the I want to know, how did it become from him pushing you off the bed that one time, right? What was the next incident? Like how did it just become abusive, and did you protect him? Like how did no one know that you was in it? I want to know all of that. Go ahead, tell your story, girl. I'm listening. I'm sorry. I get questions along the way, but I want to know.
It's good that you ask me questions, because I don't think about this often. So it's good that you ask me questions to bring it back up.
Right, because I got 3 daughters, right? And I know other people in here got daughters, like cousins, nieces. I want to know, so that way when I want to be able to know what signs that we are missing, that we don't see what's happening. You know what I mean?
So what it is that what I just said, most people who commit domestic violence don't go into it wanting to be abusive. And because the other party who's being abused, or their hands put on them or whatever, they know that they don't go into it thinking that. And that's why they continue to stay, because they think, oh, they won't do it again. They won't do it again. And then the next time it's worse. And that person, hold on. What? Am I leaving? Yeah, in a little bit. What do you want, Tubba Wubbers? Get out my room. Go.
The guy called for the card.
Okay. You gonna go get it?
Yeah, we're gonna use the card.
Okay.
We'll be back before we have to leave, I guess.
Okay. Sorry, y'all. This is my son.
That's fine.
Lubby. Chubby. He's fat. He's the world's biggest Yorkie. Tell him, say hi. But because we know that they don't go into it, and we love them, so we believe the best in them, that's why women don't tell. And that's why women stay and keep going back, because they believe that that person is not who they're showing you that they are.
Okay.
So you want to continue to give them another chance.
Okay.
So from that time of being pushed off the bed, it was just little things that were happening. Like, I let the pushing me off the bed go, because like I said, I was just a little girl, grew up in poverty. So I seen fights all the time. I let the pushing me off the bed go. But the next time he put his hands on me, I hit him back. So now we fighting, right? But of course, he was a man, so he got the best of me. Of course, he got the best of me. And each time we would fight and he would hurt me, like blood would be coming out. At that point, I learned, if he ever hit me, don't hit him back. Just protect yourself. Ball up, cover your face, just protect yourself. And so that's what I did for a while.
So, okay. So, did he leave? Did you have like black eyes? Did you have like? So when he would hit you and give you a black eye, right? Would you just stay in the house until it go away, or would you put makeup on it? Like, how did you hide that from people?
I stayed in the house. I didn't wear a lot of makeup back then. Back then, the only makeup I knew about was lipstick, eyeliner, and mascara. Maybe a little bit of eyeshadow, but I didn't wear a lot of makeup. So I didn't know nothing about foundation or concealer, none of that stuff. So I just stayed in the house.
Okay. So when he when he would be putting his hands on you, where would the kids be? Did the kids see this?
No. Well, the kids was little, so you know,
Even if they did, they wouldn't have probably understood what was going on. They didn't.
right. They were young. So I have 4 kids within 5 years.
Okay, like me.
Right.
I had him in 3 years, girl. You took your time. I was running to I was running to this race, but okay. So the kids were small. They didn't really So
They didn't know nothing.
so let me ask you this. So did anybody in your family see, or did anybody in your family ever ask you, is he hitting you? Like, what's going on? It looked like you may be in trouble. Did anybody ever see it to that
Yeah.
point where they was able to call it out?
Yeah.
And
My
what
mother,
they said?
so I told you it was a half double. We lived on one side, my mother lived on the other side. My mother saw it. My mother saw us fight.
Oh wow. Okay. And so what would she say?
She would break it up. She would, you know, tell him to stop. She would physically break it up, get in between, tell him to stop. Whatever. But also, I know people are going to say, well, why didn't your mom put a stop to it? Why didn't your mom do this? Why didn't your mom do that? What is my mama really supposed to do? You know what I'm saying?
Nothing. There's nothing she can do.
So her calling the police wouldn't have done anything about it, because as soon as he got out, you know, I'd have been right back with him. I wouldn't have gone to court and testified against him. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
what really was my mother supposed to do?
Right.
And I had a brother that lived there, but my brother was much younger than me. So wasn't nothing he could do. You know what I'm saying? He was still a kid, because I was a kid having kids. So he was really still a kid.
Right.
So there was nothing he could do.
So do you think he looking back on it, right? How long has this been? How many years have this?
Girl, it's been a quarter century ago.
Okay, so I can ask this question. So looking back, right? Do you think that he preyed on you, or do you think like y'all just liked each other and it just happened?
No, he didn't prey on me. He didn't prey. No.
Okay.
See, there's 2 different kinds. Like I keep saying, there's domestic violence, and then there are abusers. Most of us
stay right there. Explain that, because I didn't know it was a difference. I thought it was all the same. Explain that so we can know. I can know.
An abuser is somebody who actually seeks someone out that they can control, put fear in, and, you know, put their hands on. Like they go into it with the idea of, I'm going to control this bitch.
Okay.
By any means necessary. That's what an abuser is. Domestic violence is what we deal with most of the time. Oh, you seen, you know, Susie and Joe was down the street fighting again. That's domestic violence.
Okay. Grandma said, did he come from an abusive house? Like, do you know if his parents, because most of the times, most men that fight women, they seen their daddy fight their mama, right? And I always say that they hated it as a kid, seeing their mom getting beat on. But soon as they get mad and they become an adult, the first thing they do is, I hit you, because that's what they know. You know what I'm saying? It's so, was his parents was okay.
Yeah, we both did. We both did. Like I said, you know, we grew up in poverty, and this was normal. You've seen it all the time.
Okay. So how often would he fight you? Like, what is the stupidest thing that you think that he fought you for, that you was like, what is wrong with you? What was it?
That the story that I just told you about me being hot and wanting him off of me.
Oh,
that was
wow.
the stupidest thing.
Right.
I just wanted him to get off of me, and it made him so mad that he wanted to push little old 7-8 months pregnant me completely off the bed and hit the floor. And he was angry about it. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't seem really big at the time. You know what I'm saying? It don't seem that big. You know, you see people, kids, teenagers fighting all the time, push each other off the bed. It don't seem that big. but it is that big when it comes to a relationship because the anger behind it. So even though you might not physically be hurt from that first occurrence,
Mm-hmm.
that's the doorway.
Okay, I wouldn't have never thought about something that small being. So do you? Okay, so was it? I know it was physical, right? But do you think it was any mental abuse that played a part in it?
Um, there was to here's what I want to say about that. There was, but not because he was purposely trying to get in my head, but because of I keep going back to this, growing up in poverty and seeing it every day. Well, my mama never did this. My mama never did that. My mama didn't call the police. You know what I'm saying? My mama held him down and she backed him up and they just got over it and went on with it. And you don't do that to a man. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing.
Right, right.
But not because he was purposely trying to calculate in his head how he was going to manipulate me. It's just what it is.
So, tell me about coming out of it. How did you? I want to know how did you come out of it?
So I tried to come out of it twice, right? So we broke up several times, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But, again, I'm a teenager. Okay. I want to emphasize that I'm still a teenager. I got pregnant again 3 months after I had my first baby. And my second baby was born 3 weeks before my 18th birthday. So if you look at their birth certificates, when it says mother's age, it says 17 on both of them.
Dang.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So by the time I had my second baby and we got into another fight, this fight was horrible. This fight, I can't even tell you what we was fighting about. But by this time, he had put his hands on me so many times. I was like, you're not going to keep talking to me crazy and putting your hands on me. Now, at this time, I have had a couple black eyes, but like I said, it was so normal for me that I really didn't see it as he beat me down. I seen it as I held my own. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You see
right.
the difference here?
Justify it.
Right. Like, yeah, he put his hands on me, but I put my hands on him too. And I held my own. And what you want to do about it type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this time, I can't even remember what we had got into it about. But he was talking crazy to me. Matter of fact, we was over at my mama's house. He had come over there because he was always around. He still tried to come around. Girl, I be asking my mama, why you let that man in? Lady, what is wrong with you? That man is a stranger. He ain't been family in 20-something years. Why is you doing this? But anyway, so I can't even remember what we had gotten into it about. But he was running his mouth and I was mad. And this is what I'm saying. Domestic violence and abuse are two different things. Because I'm not an abuser, but I'm definitely guilty of domestic violence. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I threw a cup of ice soda at him. I had a glass with ice and soda in it, and he kept running his mouth. So I picked it up and I threw it at him. That was the wrong thing to do.
What
that was
for that?
Wrong thing to do, girl. I was sitting on the couch like I was sitting on the couch like this. Right?
Yeah.
Girl, I threw that glass of ice soda on him and he jumped on me. Child, he jumped on me on that couch and was just wailing on me. Do you hear me? Wailing on me. Picked me up by my hair, drug me around the room, punched me all in my face, in my head. My mama come in, right? My mama stop it. So she tackles him. My mama tackles him, takes him down. And then I get up because I'm still in that mindset. You know what I'm saying? This is normal and you're not going to put your hands on me. So we going to fight. So I get up and I run over to him. I'm about to kick him in the head because he on the ground. What you going to do? But my brother tackled me. But anyway.
Dang.
Yeah, girl, he the hell out of me that day. And this day I called the police because this day was bad. Okay. It was bad. I was bleeding. My nose was bleeding. As a matter of fact, before that, what happened was after that fight, he tried to take my kids. This is why I called the police, not because of the fight, but because he tried to take my kids. So I knew that he had family in another state that he would go visit, and I didn't want him taking my babies and me not seeing them again. So my son, who was my second born baby, was in a car seat, and my oldest daughter wasn't. So he picked her up and then tried to grab the car seat. I'm taking my kids, bitch. You ain't gonna see him, blah, blah, blah. And he go to get in the car, and I snatched the car seat from him. So I'm able to get my son. And I handed my son to my mama, and I ran after him to try to get my daughter, but I couldn't catch him. And he jumped in the car and took off with my daughter. That's why I called the police, not because he put his hands on me, but because he was trying to take my child.
Oh, wow.
So that time I called the police, and had to go. They found him at his mama's house, and I had to go over there and get my daughter. And they asked me, did I want to press charges? And I didn't really want to, but the police were looking at me and they could see all of the stuff. You know what I'm saying? My clothes was ripped. I was bloody, bruised up. They took pictures and everything. So he went to jail, and girl, while he was in jail, he tried to file charges against me. This
For
ain't
what?
funny. He tried to file charges against me, say that I beat him up.
You can do that?
He tried. He wasn't successful, but he tried. But anyhow, that's the first time that I called the police. And the only reason that I called him was because he was trying to take my babies. So this was my first attempt to get away after that. And it wasn't because, he was trying to put his hands on me, but because he was trying to take my children. So I took my children and I moved to another city real quick. Didn't tell him while he was in jail. And I moved to another city, got me an apartment in another city. Didn't tell him where I lived. Wasn't talking to him, nothing. And then one night I heard a knock on my door. And I'm like, who is knocking on my door? Don't nobody know where I live. I look out my peephole and it's him. It was him.
Dang.
And that right there. Now, had he left me alone, I would have got away before I had my next two children. But I don't know, like it had to be somebody in my family had to tell him, because I didn't tell nobody else. Only people knew where I lived was, my immediate family living in my mother's house. But somebody told him what apartment and everything.
And that's when you had the other two, right? You don't have twins, right? So all of these are all separate births, right? Okay.
Yes.
I had a little saving grace. I got twins, so
Nope, I had 4 pregnancies, child. 4 of them.
Okay.
But yeah, I only had 2 children at this time. At this time, I only had 2.
Okay.
So, that him coming to my house and knocking on my door, that opened it back up. Because now, you know what I'm saying? Like, what I'm going to do? He knows where I live. You can't really get away. You know what I'm saying? Not that he's trying to control me or anything, but, he still want to be with me. You know what I mean? So that's when the apologies come in. That's when, I ain't going to do it no more comes in, blah, 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 blah. So he moved in with me in that apartment. And in that apartment, we had several fights. I remember one time, girl, here's a stupid one. Here's a stupid reason that he put his hands on me, right? Now, I'm in the shower, okay? He comes in the bathroom and he commenced to take a number 2 while I was in the shower. And I was like, boy, if you don't get up out of here while I'm in the shower, stanking up the shower, you stink. Why is you doing this? Do you know he reached in that shower and threw me on the wall of the shower? You know how the water spigot comes out of the wall? Threw my back onto that water spigot while I was in the shower because I told him not to be doo-dooing in the bathroom while I'm taking a shower.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. That was one time. in that apartment. And I didn't always, like I said, I didn't always fight back, because you learn to not fight back, because the more you fight back, the worse it is. So after that one, there was another fight I remember in that apartment. And it was because he had went to this seminar about some kind of stupid way to make money that you can't really make money off of. And, you know, you buy the package to learn how to do this thing, and then you take it home and you learn how to make phone calls and do this and do that, right? So we was in the bed, and he was looking through this whole package that he bought, because it was going to help him make money. And I was falling asleep because it was like 3:00 in the morning. So I was dozing off. And he got mad because I wasn't able to stay awake with him to go through this package to make money. And he jumped on me then too.
Wow.
For falling asleep. There's never a good reason. There is never a good reason why a person puts their hands on you in that type of situation, and domestic violence types of situations. There's never a good reason. That's always a stupid reason.
Right. So how did you when did you try to leave the first time? The second time, like, okay, so you tried to leave the first time, he found you, right? You only had 2 babies then, right?
Yep.
So when was the second time you tried to leave?
So the second time I tried to leave was this apartment that I moved into in the other city. They were putting everybody out because they wanted to remodel it. So everybody had to get out. But because, like I said, we lived in poverty, everybody that lived in the apartments was poor. Everybody got a Section 8 voucher, and you could take that and use it wherever. So I found a house back in my hometown that would take it. So I moved into that house. And at this point, he had bought a house that he lived in. So I had my place and he had his place. So now we weren't living together anymore.
Okay.
So that was the second time that I tried to get, like, we broke up and was seeing other people and everything. And that was the second time I tried to get away. But again, like I said, this is normal. So the person that I was seeing at the time was no different than the one that I had left. Matter of fact, he might have been, matter of fact, he was worse.
Wow.
He was worse than the one that I tried to get away from, right? And this second one jumped on me. He only had to jump on me once because I didn't have nothing with him. So it didn't move me to lose him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So the second one jumped on me and he choked me. It wasn't nobody but me and him in my house. And he choked me till I damn near passed out. And at that point, I was in a situation, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want this one coming back around, because this one, he ain't just gonna beat me, he gonna kill me, because he about just killed me. So
you was better off with the other one.
That's what I was thinking. So I said, let me go back to my baby daddy, because at least there I'm not gonna die. So got back together with him at that point. Sure did.
Wow.
Yeah, that didn't work.
So when you go back, right, because I always say, right, you have to have a changed mind. That's why healing is so important, because you can get out of one, and because you have that certain attraction to a certain type of people, or they have that attraction to you, right? You attract that same spirit, right? So even though you left him, you get right back into it because it's a spirit thing. You know what I mean? So when you're healed and you begin to change, you would look for different, right? Because I was the same way, but not with abuse, just with gangsters. You know what I mean? Like I love me a thug, boy. All day long, used to,
right?
Recovering addict from those, but. Okay, so you get back in it, right? That's when you have baby number 4?
No, I still only had 2 at this point. I still hadn't had the third baby.
Wow.
Because there was a 3-year gap in between my first 2 and my last 2. So I had 2 3-year gap, and then the other 2. So got back together with him, my baby daddy. And this time, oh, we're going to do it right now. Mind you, I'm 18, okay? 18, 19 years old. Get back together with him. Well, we're going to have another baby. So there comes the third baby. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Well, did you ever marry him?
No, girl. I was going to, we went down, got our marriage license and everything. But before we went through with it, I just told him one day, I was like, I can't marry you.
You changed your mind?
I ain't going to be able to do it. I ain't going to be able to do it. Not right now. Not right now. It ain't right. Because, we was going through everything. And on top of that, his family was batshit crazy, girl. Batshit crazy. When I tell you batshit crazy, his mama hated me. She hated me. She hated me because now my baby daddy was, he was in the streets too. So he was making his money out there in the streets like, men be making out there in the streets. And when I came along, mama wasn't getting as much money as she had used to be getting from him.
Oh, wow.
So mama hated me, honey. I can tell you stories about the mama, how the mama tried to set me up. The mama had my house robbed while I wasn't home. And she thought she was slick, but I was smarter because I knew what she was setting up. So I tried to tell her that I told her something was somewhere in one specific place to see what would happen. And it wasn't there. It was actually somewhere else. And after I told her where this thing was in this one specific place, I come back to my house. My house had been robbed, but they didn't find nothing because it was a setup from the beginning. So mama hated me. Okay. Mama hated me.
Damn. So, okay. So after now you got all 4 of your babies, right?
Yes.
No,
let's back up. Let's back up because it don't happen like that. So I get pregnant with the third baby, and baby daddy gets popped, right? Police raid the house.
Your house?
Okay. I happen to be, yes, honey. Well, his house.
Okay.
That we stayed in together when I wasn't mad at him and go back to my little Section 8 house that I had, right?
Okay.
So
you kept the chamber. You kept the bat cave. Okay, I did.
I kept the bat cave, but on good days we was a little family in the house that he had, and then on bad days when he got to tripping too much, I go back to my little Section 8 place, hole in the wall.
Okay.
But so I'm pregnant with the third baby, and I had taken the second baby to the doctor. I had left the first baby at home with daddy. And I get home from the doctor, and it's police just surrounded my house, SWAT around the house. And you know why they was there. I ain't got to tell you why they was there. You know what they was looking for. And they had strip searched my baby, looking in her diaper. Okay. Did she have a diaper? She did have a diaper. They had strip searched my baby, was looking in her diaper, looking through her crib for, contraband type stuff. And they walked my baby daddy out in handcuffs and put him in jail. And I was pregnant with the third baby at this point. So, and this is the time that the mama had my house robbed. So while baby daddy was in jail, I had to get him out, right? Because I had 2 babies and I was pregnant with one, and I had to get him out. So the police, I think the statute is a little bit, the statute of limitations is up after 20-something years, right? So the police didn't find everything that they should have found, because had they found everything that they should have found, baby daddy would still be in jail today.
Wow. Okay.
But I knew where it was. So I got it. Okay, I got it. Mama wanted it. I wasn't giving it to her because I knew what she was gonna do with it. So mama wasn't getting it, and I got rid of it myself, so to speak. because I needed to make the money to get my baby daddy out of jail.
Okay.
So I was on the I was working 24/7.
You was on the grind, right?
I was
right,
on the
right.
grind. This
Like
was back in
you
the
say, yin yin yang, yeah.
right. And in my little yin.
Hey.
This was back in the days. I was working off a beeper, right? Had a pink beeper. So, I worked up the money to get my baby daddy out of jail, went down and bonded him out. Now, by the time I got him out, I had already given birth to the baby I was pregnant with. Okay, because I was just that far along.
Wow.
So I'd already given birth to the baby that I was pregnant with, got him out of jail. And, we continued on. You know what I'm saying? And then 3 months later, I got pregnant with my last baby before he went back to jail, right? I was pregnant with the last baby. And we had gotten into more fights. But this last fight was demeaning. It was degrading. It was embarrassing. And I didn't want to do it no more, but I couldn't get away from him. So this last fight, I can't even tell you what we was fighting about at this point. Oh, yes, I can. I was staying at my place because we had gotten into a fight. So I went back to my house and I had left my baby's medicine at his house. So I went over to his house to get my baby's medicine. And when I walked in the door, it was a chick sitting on the couches that I bought in his house. So, we got into it. And this time he really did a number on me while I was pregnant with the fourth baby. He really did a number on me. I'm talking punching me all in my head. He was kicking me on the ground, and it was raining outside. And after he did what he did to me in the house, he drug me out the house and threw me in the yard. Just threw me in the yard. Pregnant with his fourth child after I stayed up 24 hours a day to get him out of jail. And he really beat, and I didn't fight him back this time because this fight was too much for me to handle. And I was there by myself. And I say that I was by myself, even though there were other people in the house, because the other people that were in the house were his cronies, you know what I'm saying? His paid workers, his security detail to watch the house, to make sure that if anybody tried to run up in again, that he gets the drop on anybody trying to come in his house. So they stood there and they watched me get my ass whooped. They watched him drag me outside and throw me in the mud in the rain. I'm talking about, girl, this is like a movie. You'll see this on the big screen somewhere where the man beat the woman, throw her in the rain, and she laying in the yard go, water running all down her face, rain all over the place. Girl, that was me. That was me in the yard, in the grass, in the mud, girl, in the mud. So I said, I ain't gonna do this no more. And he walked away and he went to the back of the house because there was something going on in the back of the house. So I went in the house and I grabbed a lighter fluid and I poured it on the couches and I lit them up and walked out. Angela Bassett poured it all over there.
I know that's right.
Walked out the house, right? Got my car, took off. Anyhow, he ended up going to court and they gave him 5 years in jail. And this is what I want to say to women. You will get a lot of slack from the hood if you leave a man while he's in prison, but don't let that stop you. Because sometimes that's the only way that you get away. Because he got 5 years in prison, and had he gotten 1 year in prison, I'd have still been there. You know what I'm saying? But that 5 years of being able to be detached from him and see different things and be on my own taking care of them children, it let me know that that was something that I didn't have to go back to, and I didn't need to go back to it, and I didn't have to go back to it, and I didn't have to be down for him while he was in jail, because the last time he was in jail and I was down for him, he took me outside, beat me up, and threw me in the rain. So I don't have to be here for you. So don't ever feel bad for leaving a man while he's in jail, especially if you was a good woman to him and he was a bad man to you.
You absolutely right. So now he's in jail. Wait, he go to jail on baby number 4 while
Yep.
you were pregnant with baby number 4? That's when he went to jail.
Yep.
Okay, so now that he's in jail, right? And when you say you're done, right? So how did you immediately start your healing process then? Okay. How did
No.
it happen?
So he went to jail and it took about a year for me to be done with him. And what caused me to be done with him at that point was I have asthma, and I had an asthma attack that basically killed me, right? EMTs put the thing down my throat. They cut my clothes off. My blood vessels in my face had burst from not having oxygen. Like it pretty much killed me. They had to bring me back. I woke up in the hospital with my clothes cut off and bust blood vessels in my face from the lack of oxygen. My throat hurt because they had shoved that tube down my throat to try to keep me alive, right? So I was laying in the hospital bed, and this was about a year after I had the last baby. And my mother brought me my mail, and I had a letter from him. Now, mind you, I'm out here with 4 children by myself, doing my best to provide everything that they need. And I'm 21. Okay.
Did anybody in his family help you? Or you
Girl,
getting any help?
but take. All they wanted to do was take. That's all they wanted to do. I tried to, one time I was so desperate, girl. You used to sell them little food stamps that they used to give you, girl. I sold his mama some food stamps because I needed to buy diapers for my baby. She took my food stamps and spent them and then told me that she didn't have the money.
I'm about to beat his mama up right now. You know what I mean? I'm about to give his mama.
Girl, you ain't got to. My mama did that. Don't worry about it. What Voodoo said, don't worry about it, fat. My mama handled that. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
My mama handled that because I wasn't disrespectful. I was still a kid, and I wasn't disrespectful to your elders because my daddy told me, you don't do that.
right.
So I never was disrespectful to her. She just didn't like me because, I stepped in between her and
her son.
Her son's money, not her son, her son's money. She didn't care nothing about that boy.
My niece in the comments, my niece said, Auntie, you would have cussed his mama out. Baby, let me tell you something. Man, Jesus, Lord.
Girl, but yeah, my mama handled that. My mama took care of that. Shout out to my mama.
I like your mama, baby. Let me tell you. Because I would have given her the business. I'm telling you right now.
I watched my mama fight his mama, his daddy, and his big sister all at the same time. She grabbed one and then was swinging over top of the daddy on the other one like this, holding the other one by her hair. And the daddy turned around and she said, bop, bop, bop. And then she was like, bop, 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 bop. Don't even worry about it. My mama handled that. Big old white woman from the hood.
I was gonna ask you which one of your parents was white because I didn't know. So your dad is black and your mom is white.
My mama, a big old white woman, big old 6 foot tall white woman. Okay, big old Amazonian white woman. Okay, my mama handled that one, and they thought the same thing. They said, "Oh, this white lady, this." But truth be told, I'm gonna tell you the truth. You know the reason they ain't like my mama for real, and why, by extension, they didn't like me. Because my mama used to sell his mama and daddy a little bit of something on the side. A little yin. My mama used to let them pawn their VCR up at her house. That's how old I am. They was pawning VCRs, girl. They was pawning let my mama hold the VCR if they can hold a little something till Friday. But
that's
yeah,
crazy. So so now he's in jail, right? And you're not healing.
Oh, right. So now he's in prison. And I was in the hospital, stressed out because I had 4 children. I had to make sure that they had shoes that fit because they children and their feet's always growing. Make sure that they have clothes that fit because they children and their bodies is always growing. Make sure that they got, food to eat and a roof over their head. And I still got to figure out what I'm going to do with me. But at the same time, I still got to make sure that they get what they need. And I'm in the hospital after I had just about died. My mama brought me my mail, and there was a letter in there from him. And he was cussing me out from prison, cussing me out because I hadn't sent him no money in prison. Because he wanted me to send him some money. And I'm out here on the outside trying to figure out how I'm going to get the money just to put shoes on my baby's feet. And I ain't got no money to be sending you in prison right now. You know what I'm saying? I know you did what you did and I did what you did because I needed to get you out. But this ain't what I do. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be out here just doing this.
Right.
I know how to do it. I know what it is. I've done it before. I see my mama do it. I see my daddy do it. My brothers do it. You know what I'm saying? My uncles do it. I've seen it happen. I know how to do it, but it's not what I do. And I don't want to do that. And I don't have time to do that because I have 4 children and I can't be where you're at.
Right. Right.
And then my children end up with your mama. That can't happen. That can't happen.
Right.
So I got this letter from him of him cussing me out because he hadn't sent me no money. And it was in that moment right there that I said, no, I'm not doing this no more. I'm not supporting you. I'm not going to be with you. I'm not sending you no money. As a matter of fact, I'm done sending you letters. And I don't care what nobody say about me at this point. At this point, I don't care who got what to say. Because you was more concerned about me sending you some money than you was concerned about me making sure that your children had what they needed. While I'm in the, you don't know it because this was back in the day. You don't know that I'm even in the hospital, damn near dead.
Right.
And I'm reading this letter from you. So it was at that moment that told me, because he's still trying to do it from prison. He might not can put his hands on me. But he can write down, you know what you got to do to be able to think about what you're going to say to somebody, put it on paper, put it in an envelope, and then put it in the mail. You know how many points that you had that you could have stopped and said, I ain't going to do this.
Right.
But you continued to do it.
Right.
So it was at that moment I said, I ain't doing this no more. So the next letter I wrote him was, I'm done with you. And,
do you think he believed that when you said it? Because he probably thought you probably was just mad. You ain't you not gonna do it. How much time did he actually have in jail?
So he had been in there about a year at that point, and he still had 4 to go.
Okay. Do you think that he believed that you was done? Or he thought maybe you was talking out the side of your neck? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you saying that now, but
I don't know what he believed because I never asked him. Because
after he continued to write you after that,
yeah,
so he didn't believe that y'all was done. So, when did you got married, right? After this, you never got married.
I am the eternal runaway bride.
So
I ran away from the altar, girl. I ran away from it. But you know what? That's trauma, honestly.
It is. It is. That's why I want to know, when did you start healing from it, right? Like, when did you say something is wrong? I need to heal from this. I want to know your process. Like, when did you say, hey, something is wrong? And when did you start actually healing from this happening? When did you start healing?
So that took a couple more years until it was when my children started going to school. Like, all of them started to go to school. When all of my children started going to school and I wanted better for them is when the healing started, and I did a 180. So I went from the street, living the street life, the poverty life. I wouldn't even call it the street life because I wasn't in the streets, but I was in very close proximity
Right.
to a lot of people in the
Right.
streets. Right.
What is your profession, Jay?
I do office work.
Okay. Okay. So when did you, because that's just like me, like I'm born and bred in the hood, but I wanted a better life for my kids, right? That's why we stayed over here. And because I wanted them to be able to, I didn't want to just, in which I probably, it may have been something within me that I didn't want them to grow up in the hood, really,
Mhm.
with just all black people. I wanted them to be diverse and have a different culture. But thinking back now, I think I probably should have bought my house over there. And I think that it probably would have been better for them to be raised with more people that look like them versus not them, right? So when how did you change it? How did you flip it up? How did you flip that up?
So when my children started going to school, I started wanting better for them. I wanted them to not see all of that. Just like you said, why you took you and bought your house somewhere else, I wanted my children to not see none of that. So I couldn't actually move out of that area because I didn't have the money, so I couldn't move away from it. But what I could do was stop it from coming around us, right?
Right.
So I did that, and then I met a man. I met a man who was a college graduate, because I'm still, to this day, I have my GED. I've been to college, but I didn't graduate, right? And I did that after I had all of my children. I went back to school, but I didn't graduate. So now I'm still just a person who has their GED, because of course, when I was having my babies, when I was a teenager, I dropped out of school because I had 2 children and I tried to go back to high school, and I'm sitting in the class in high school and I'm looking at all these high school children thinking, I have 2 children in the daycare downstairs. What am I doing here? Right? So I stopped going to school and I just went and took my GED test, because I couldn't be in a classroom with a bunch of teenagers that didn't have the responsibilities that I had. I had the grown woman responsibility still trying to go to high school. So I just went and took my GED test and got up out of there. And then after all of my children was born, I went back to college, and life happens, and I had 4 children and I had a lot going on and I needed to work. So I didn't finish high school, or I didn't finish college, but I did see that there was another way. Now, while I was having my children and before I had my children, I didn't even know that college was a thing, that was an opportunity that was afforded to anybody from the class of people that I was from. You know what I'm saying? Nobody talked to me about college. No school counselors didn't talk to me about it. They just wrote me off as a lost cause, because I be joking a lot. Like when we was in that meeting and I was joking that I'll be the one in the office talking about, oh, sign this pink slip, you going home. That's a joke, but it's for real.
Right.
Real.
You know what I think as black people, we laugh at our pain. You know what I'm saying? And so you just make light of it. But yeah. When I was saying voodoo take up, we at the principal's office. That's why I kept saying that, because it was funny to me. But
Right. But that was real. I was the person that was going home. I wasn't in school. So the teachers and, the counselors and stuff, they didn't look at me like I was anyone worth their time to take to let me know that there was something different out here that I could choose. And my mama, she didn't get her GED till I had already had children. And the only reason my mama got hers was because Bill Clinton made her. Because this was back in the day. So this was back in the days, let me tell you how old I am, where welfare didn't have a time limit on it, right? You could get
Bill Clinton came out with that law. I remember.
Until he came out with that law that said you get 3 years. You get 3 years, and then you got to get up out of here, because we're not giving you nothing else. And in order for you to even get that money for those 3 years, you got to do these classes, you got to take this classes, you got to learn how to get out here and get a job and work. And that's why my mama ended up getting her GED, because had she not gotten it, she wouldn't have got a check. Okay. So she was required to go do it. And that's how my mama came up off of, the welfare system, so to say, back then, because she was forced to do it. But so my children had started going to school, and they went to the best school in the city, which ain't saying much, but it was the best school in the city, right?
Okay.
So I was starting to see different type of parents, right? Not like my parents, you know what I'm saying? Different type of parents who wanted different for their children. Like my eyes, I was growing up, I was becoming an adult, right?
Right.
While raising children, like me and my children was growing up together.
Right.
And then one day I happened to meet a man who was educated, and he took me around his family who was educated and were good people and accepted us and showed love and wasn't like my baby daddy mama at all. I love these people to this day. I love these people. And it just showed me that there was a different way that my little Black children could live, and a different way that they could be.
Okay.
So that's what healed me, was my children and me wanting more for my children. I didn't heal me. My babies healed me.
All right. So how old are your children now?
My daughter, my firstborn baby, is 27. My secondborn is 26. My third is 23. And my baby is 22.
Okay. Okay. So do they have a good relationship with him?
Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, no. And I tried. So some stories aren't my stories to tell. Those are my children's stories to tell. You know what I'm saying?
Don't tell them.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to get too deep into that. But I did try, especially as they got up in high school. I would encourage it. I sent my youngest son to live with him for a while he was in high school. And at this time, my oldest son had joined the Army. So we were going to go to his boot camp graduation. So where it was, I live in Colorado, and all of my family and my children's father live in Ohio. And my oldest son was graduating boot camp in North Carolina. So I decided I was going to drive to his graduation. And on my way there, I decided to go through Ohio, stop and pick my youngest son up so that all of us could be at my oldest daughter was in college, so she couldn't go. But so that those of us who were able to go could go to his boot camp. So I picked up my youngest son. He was in high school at the time. And we went down to see my oldest son's boot camp graduation. And on the way home, my son said, I don't want to go back to Dad's. Mom, I don't want to go back. I want to go home with you. And now, mind you, while he was there, he had called me a couple times talking about what was going on there. But I was like, you're a young man and you need a man to raise you, because I don't know your mouth is out of control. So I'm going to send you to live with your daddy, and you're going to get to see, you need a man. So I didn't pay it too much attention. Some of the things he was calling me to tell me, Dad put his hands on me here, Dad put his hands on me there. But there was one story that he gave me that told me that, this might not be right. And this was after I picked him up. He told me that there was a fight between his dad and his dad's girlfriend's kids, who was like their father was as a teenager. So they was in the streets, right? Now, my son, mind you, by this time I had taken my children and moved across the country to get away from, because I couldn't keep them out of the streets. That's another story. So when my children started going into high school in our hometown, it's like not that they was going out looking for street stuff, but street stuff was finding them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there wasn't a day that my children could walk out the house without having to get into a fight, because that's what we did in our hometown. Our hometown was Fight Club. Wasn't nothing else to do except go out there and fight, and that was your entertainment. Who can win the fight, right? So I was one of them kids, and I didn't want that for my children. So when my children started getting into high school and this stuff was happening on a regular basis, I said, this can't work. And I loaded up the truck and I moved to Beverly. Okay.
Okay.
No, I loaded up. I had a minivan. I loaded up the minivan. I put me and my kids in the minivan and our clothes. And I had a sister that lived in Arizona. and I got on the highway. And we went to Arizona and I didn't look back. And then a year later, we moved to Colorado. And the thing that I liked about Colorado is you're not going to find a hood in Colorado. I don't care what nobody tell you. I don't care what nobody tells you. Ain't no hood in Colorado. Not one. You ain't going to find one. You ain't going to find no area of poverty, even though, it can be a struggle. You ain't going to find it. You ain't going to find no dilapidated houses. You ain't going to find none of that. You ain't going to find that here.
Wow.
So this is where we stayed. And then anyway, so I picked my son up and we went on down to North Carolina to graduation. And on the way back, I had stopped at my mother's house. By this time, their father still lived in Ohio, but it was about 4 hours away from our hometown. And I stopped at my mother's house for the night. My son got to telling me, he didn't want to go back, and he got to telling me the stories. And I was like, okay, well, you need to call your father and talk to your daddy, right? So he called him and he told him he wasn't coming back. I said, well, do you want to go get your things? He said, I don't even want my stuff.
I know that's right. That's how you know when you're done. You be like, you can take that and keep it as a memorial, bitch. I don't want it.
He said, I don't want not a single pair of them Jordans. I don't want none of them Nike fits. I don't want none of them True Religions. He can have it all. I'll start from the bottom, back at home with my mama where I'm safe. Yeah. And I ain't got to worry about fighting nobody, because there was a big fight evidently between his father and his father's girlfriend's sons and him, and he had to fight on his father's side. And that's the reason that I had took my children out of Ohio to begin with, because I didn't want them fighting like that. Now, mind you, my children ain't no punk. I'll show you my son right now. He a big, tall, handsome something, all right?
Yeah.
Both of them done been to the Army. Both of them, ain't neither one of my sons no punks at all. It just genetically don't run in them.
Right.
And I don't think they ever took an L in a fight, except for maybe against each other. I think the older brother might have beat up the little brother a couple times. But, I didn't want him to have to fight. It's one thing to be able to fight, and it's another thing to always have to fight.
Right.
And I don't want them to have to. Ain't none of my children scared, because I'm still their mama. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I told them, I taught them all the time, somebody put their hands on you, you walk them like a dog. And if you get sent home, then you just get sent home. But I didn't want them to have to do it. Because I don't know if did you fight a lot when you was younger?
Every day.
So that feeling that you get in your inside of you, down here in your stomach before a fight, and that anxiety that you getting ready to have. And yeah, after you win the fight and you come back, it's an endorphin release. Like, yeah, bitch, I beat your mother. But that anxiety leading up to that fight is the thing that I don't like. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that feeling. That feeling don't make me happy. Like, yeah, I will beat your ass, but I don't like the way I feel leading up to it. And then afterwards, I'm the type of person, I'm going to look at you and feel bad for you, and I'm going to feel guilty for doing you like that. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't.
See, I ain't. It is what it is. Like, bitch, you want the smoke, you're going to get it. I don't care. It is what it is. But I understand. I understand what you're saying. I understand your point. I get it. You know what I mean? I get that. I just, like, right now, I think I'm, we too old. But I don't want that. I don't want that from the kids. But okay, I do have another question, right? I'm icing your ass a lot of questions, Jay. But you already knew I was going to ask you a lot of questions, right? So let me ask you this. Being that your daughters are grown, they still babies, because, my second oldest is 27, right? So they still babies to me. But being that you have been through this, right? How do you prevent your daughters from going through it? And what are some of the signs as parents who have never been through it? What are some of the signs that we should be looking for or looking at?
the way that I was able to prevent my daughters from going through it was by never letting them see it happen. You know what I'm saying? They never saw it before. It wasn't normal for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? What, nobody in the house just beating on other people or men beating on women or none of that stuff. And also religion. I took my babies to service Sundays. So two different things. I took my babies to regular church service. Well, actually, they grandma, the good grandma, the one that I said that I love forever, the
Right.
good grandma would take, you know what I'm saying, would take them to church with her, and they seen that relationship between that grandmother and that grandfather, and it wasn't volatile, and you know what I'm saying. That was one thing. And another thing that I did was, because I had sons, I took my children to service with the Nation of Islam.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep, took them to all kinds of things. We would go on road trips up to Detroit, different cities, you know, the Million Man March, especially my sons. Because one thing I will say about the Nation of Islam is they are really big on men being men.
Okay.
And never have I heard them ever condone a man putting his hands on a woman. Only thing I've ever heard was them speak the opposite of that.
I'm gonna drop the link, right? Because I want to know if anybody got any questions for Jay. Anybody been in a situation like this? Let me turn this light on. Okay. I want to know. How do you put, like, my thing is, I got 3 daughters, right? And I tell my boys, I want y'all to be very present in y'all sister's life. I tell my daughters, like, if y'all get in a relationship, it's important that y'all bring these guys home to meet your family, because we need to know, we need to see. You know what I'm saying? Because I do believe in isolation. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's kind of like on both parts a little bit. I think she don't want to be bothered, and I think he encourage it, right? And so you can't, for me, I encourage my husband to go be around his family. I have events. I invite his family. I invite my family, because I encourage that relationship, right? We have to, if you want to have a good relationship with your family, like, you gotta put forth your effort to be family too, right? So I tell my boys, you gotta be present and pay attention to your sisters.
So you know what? Another thing that helped me to leave that man the last time was my daddy. My daddy he didn't live with us. He actually lived in another city, but he would hear the stories about what was going on, but he wasn't around. But yeah, so while he was in jail, my daddy came down to visit, and he had a conversation with me, and he said, you know, I'm afraid that man is going to kill you one day. One day that man is going to kill you. And this coming from my daddy. And I watched my daddy put his hands on my mama. So who better to tell me what's going to happen next than somebody who actually did it? You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
I remember seeing my mom and daddy, my childhood, a lot of my memories of my childhood, I don't have. I have maybe 5 memories of being between the ages of born and 8 years old, maybe 5, right? I have the memory of having the tea parties with my daddy.
Yeah, that's Tay to cut y'all hair. I'm sorry.
I have the memories of having the tea parties with my daddy. I have a memory of going over my great grandmother's house on the weekends every weekend. And the other memories that I have of my father are of him and my mama fighting, and me getting in between it and screaming for them to stop. And one time my daddy had jumped on my mama, and my mama had trained me. So by this time I had been trained that if my daddy put his hands on my mama that I was supposed to run to a neighbor's house because we lived in a project. So I was supposed to run to this particular neighbor's apartment and call the police. And I had to be 6 years old, 5, 6 years old at this time. And one night my daddy had jumped on my mama and my mama was screaming my name, Jamie, Jamie. So I got up and I seen it, and she had already trained me what to do. And I ran out the house. It was in the middle of the winter. There was snow and ice on the ground. I ran out the house like.
He gone, so you the only way you will haircut backyard. Yeah, I pay.
This neighbor's house to call the police on my daddy because he was beating my mama up. And then when the police came and arrested him and I was back in the house, my daddy looked at me and asked me, how could you do this to me?
What?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of pressure to put on a baby.
It is. It is. And it's my mother's fault. It's his fault too, but it's my mother's fault. And that might be part of the reason why I finally did leave. Because when he told me, when he looked at me and said, I'm afraid this man is going to kill you.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think women who live in a house with domestic violence is more accepting of a man behavior, putting his hands on them? Like, do you think it's in reverse? Like, how do you think about a person being that your mom, I would think if you see your mom getting attacked by your dad, like that will literally, the first time you'll be like, you know what, you ain't finna do this because I already saw this with my mom, or it's not like that.
It's the opposite. Okay. It's the opposite. If this is your normal, so what just my parents, my grandfather used to put his hands on my grandmother. You know what I'm saying? My mother's mother. So my mother's mother dealt with it. I don't know if my great grandmother dealt with it because by the time I came around, her husband had passed away. So I don't know what that was. But yeah, my mother's mother, my father's mother, my uncles and their wives, my aunts and their husbands. It's just, he just crazy.
It was
okay.
Oh,
he just crazy. Oh, he just been drinking. Oh, that ain't nothing. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? It's over. Don't worry about it. This normal. Here these fools go fighting again. So it's exactly the opposite. This is just what life is. And until you're able to see that ain't what life is, you can't get out of it. And that's why I said I love them people so much, because I seen, you know what I'm saying?
Different. You seen something different.
I seen something different.
I think
I do have an aunt and uncle, my daddy's brother and his wife. I never seen that out of them. They've been married 40 years now. They are my favorite people in the world. I love my uncle and my auntie. Love them to death. Can't wait to see them again. They did not do that, but everybody else did. Everybody else did.
Wow. You know what? I just want y'all to know that I have dropped the link. If y'all want to come up, we're gonna chop it up. But I want to stay on this topic. Like, I want to stay talking about. So Jay, let me ask you this, right? When you started healing from this, right? Did your children start healing from it too, or was because they didn't see it, did they not have any trauma from it at all? They didn't
see it. So when their father went to jail, I was pregnant with my fourth baby. So my first baby was only 4. You know what I'm saying? She was only 4, not yet 5. So she wasn't even in kindergarten yet. So anything that happened during that time, I've asked her, she don't remember none of it. None of it.
Damn.
But, I keep telling you, I didn't heal myself. I did not heal me. My children healed me. My love for my children is what took me out of that. My love for wanting my children, wanting them to have a better life and not continue what had been happening for generations upon generations. Because I'm sure my grandfather didn't just wake up one day and say, you know, I'm gonna beat her up. I'm sure he's seen his dad. Matter of fact, I've heard stories about, you know, my great grandfather on my mother's father's father. I have heard the stories of things that he had done to my mother's father's mother, which would be, you know, one of my great grandmothers, and how she actually, and this is the white side, right? She actually, I believe they fled. She took her children and they lived in the mountains, in the Appalachian Mountains in Kentucky. And she took her children and they all went to Ohio. And her husband's name was Red. And one day they had broken up and they had gotten into it, and Red had been out drinking or whatever. And Red had said he was going to come and take his children and, delete her. And she took out her shotgun, let it off, and told him if he took another foot over that river, over the creek, if he come over that creek, he was going to leave in a pine box.
Wow.
And then after that, everybody moved to Ohio. And then, it just continued, though. It continued. Like my grandfather had seen that. So my grandfather continued that with his wife. And then they had my mother. And my mother seen that with her parents. And then she got, together with my dad, and it continued there. And then I became, a grown up and got with my children's father, and it continued there. And I wanted it to stop with me. I didn't want it to continue with my daughters.
My niece said in the comments, thank God you broke the curse for your children. That's what my niece said. She said, thank God you broke the curse for the kids, which I agree. Like, you strong, Jay.
Girl, I did what I had to do. I don't think it has anything to do with me being strong. I think that I had, everybody always has a decision. You always got a decision to make. You always come to a fork in the road, and you can decide whether you're going to go left or if you're going to go right. Right. On the left side was my baby daddy, but on the right side were my babies. And I had to make a decision, and I turned and I went right on that side of the road. Because, he was grown. My children were my children, and I did not want my life for my children. I did not want, my elders' lives for my children. I wanted a different life for my babies. So I took a different route. And thankfully, all my children are smart enough. Now I got one of them a little thrown off, but we're gonna pray for him. All right, we just gonna pray for him because he a little crazy, but he ain't that crazy.
It's open. Hold up, Jay. Give me one. Let me open the door for my daughter real quick. Look at my babies. Okay, I'm back, Jay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, I didn't heal myself and I didn't save myself. I saved my babies. It didn't have nothing to do with me. It had absolutely, the decision that I made had nothing to do with me. Nothing.
Okay. Man, Jay, you just don't know. Because I think we was talking about that Diddy and Cassie situation. And in my mind, I was like, girl, when you got to your mama house, you was safe. Like, why did you leave? But talking to you and you like breaking it down, because we talked about it then, right? Because my thing is, I just feel like when you and a person not seeing eye to eye, y'all can get on the phone, chop it up, explain each other's side, so that way y'all can have an understanding, right? So I just think that I never looked at it from how you explaining it now. I never looked at it. I never looked at it as that hard. You know what I mean? It's hard to leave when you love that person and you want to see them do better. Like, I think it's hard to just walk away. So
And let me say this: my story is the story of domestic violence. Cassie's story is the story of an abuser, of a cold-hearted, calculated abuser. Okay, her running to her mama's house wasn't gonna save her because he had already proven that he can find her anywhere. He can send people for. He got all the money in the world. Her going to her mama's house might not do nothing but put her mama in danger because he already blew up dude's car. What is he gonna do to her mama?
See, in my mind, I didn't see it different, but as you break it down, I see it's different, right? So what are some tips that you would give us parents so that we can know?
Love your children. Love your children. So the tips that I would give as parents: if you are a woman in an abusive or domestic violence situation, the love for your children has to outweigh your love for or hope for that man to change. You can hope all day long, but you got to love your children enough to put the hope for him aside. He's not the important one no more. Your child is.
Okay. Man, Jay, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming up here. I appreciate you breaking it down. I don't know. I dropped the link. If anybody got any questions for Jay or got any advice for anybody else, for the rest of us who have no idea about this, we are open for that. But Jay, I really do appreciate that because, girl, you really helped me today because I had no idea about, like, I think what it is that people are not concerned about stuff that doesn't affect their life. You know what I'm saying? Most people pay attention to stuff that affect their life. That's when they open up their eyes and stuff like that. But other than that, if it really doesn't affect the person's life and livelihood, it's not something that we really pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just gonna say that I really didn't pay attention to it because it didn't directly affect my life. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But I do have daughters, and now I do have to pay attention. I have to pay attention to the signs that you give us, so that way I'll know if somebody trying to play with my baby, and I gotta put a hot one in them because I'm gonna put a hot one in them.
The first time, the first clue you need to look for is the first time that he does something purposely to hurt you. And I don't care whether it's physical or whether it's verbal. If he does something out of anger, or not even out of anger, if he does something that he purposely, that he knows is going to hurt you, that's your first sign. That is your sign to go. Because if they can come to the conclusion that I'm so mad at you that I'm going to do something to hurt you, I want to hurt you, I want you to be hurt, it don't get no better from that.
That's good.
And it don't matter whether it's verbal, you say something, off the wall, specific, because women do it all the time, and that's not right. If a woman does that to you, I don't care who it is, if it's a man or a woman, the first time somebody does something purposely to hurt you is your sign.
Okay. I never thought about that, but that made sense. That made sense. And I got my daughters watching because we're going to go back and rewatch this and we're going to have discussions, even though they're young, they're not dating. But at the same time, I need them to pay attention. My nieces are on here. I need them to pay attention. My cousins, like we have daughters, and we need to pay attention to the warning signs, right? I think they're warning signs, right? So,
this ain't the schoolyard where, the little boy just pulled on your pigtails because he like you. No, he pulled on your pigtails because he wanted to hurt you and he wanted to get your attention. Don't.
You know, that's what we're told. If he hit you, girl, he like you. That's all he doing because so.
And he might like you, but he also wants to hurt you. I heard on the last, not this last live, but the live before Voodoo did, and a woman got on there and said, you want us to suffer. You want us to shut up and take it, and you want us to suffer. When a person hurts you on purpose, it is because they want you to suffer. Now, I'm not saying that they, say something that kind of hurt your feelings a little bit, but they didn't mean to say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't mean to hurt you. They was talking about a different situation, and it kind of hit a little too home to you. But when you recognize that they do something purposely to make you hurt, that's your sign. And I don't care whether it's physical, whether it's verbal, if they try to embarrass you, that's them trying to hurt you. Like, it could be something as simple as, come on, let's leave and get in the car. And then you go to get in the car and they take off down the road a little bit and they keep doing it so you can't get in the car, kind of teasing type of stuff.
Like,
if they're trying to embarrass you, if you're around a bunch of people and they say something that they know you don't want nobody to know, and they trying to front you out in front of other people, and this is the person you're supposed to be with, and they play it off as a joke, that ain't no joke. They're trying to embarrass you. They are trying to hurt you. That is your first clue. So whether it be verbal, whether it be physical, the first time they do something on purpose to hurt or embarrass you is your sign to get your hat and go.
Grab your coat and your pocketbook. It's time
okay.
to go.
It's time. Get my hat. Get my hat. It's time to go. It's time to go. But girl, so I really don't see myself as being strong or any kind of anything like that.
You are.
This was normal. What I'm telling you is that this is normal. I'm not the first one to go through this. I lived in it, amongst it. You know what I'm saying? They say when you wallow around in shit, you don't recognize the smell.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? After a while, you stop smelling it when you're rolling around in it. You got to come up out of it so that you can recognize what it is. And I grew up in the shit, so I didn't smell it. And it took me having my children and wanting better for them, for me to come up out of it, to be able to smell the shit.
Right.
So it was my children. It wasn't any kind of strength that I had in me or love that I had for myself. Oh, I had to love myself more. No, I had to love my children more. My children saved me. My children are my saving grace. Best thing that ever happened to me. They get on my nerves. Lord knows they get on my nerves.
I appreciate you saying that though, for real, because like, you remember like every time in the Tina movie, right? Every time Tina got ready to leave, she would pike up the children and she would try her best to escape with the children. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I appreciate you saying that, because that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? To me, that makes sense. Like what I do is never for me. Like my whole thing is wanting to be better, wanting to the neighborhood, everything. All I ever wanted to do was put my children in a better position than what I had. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what we all do as parents, right? We always want the best for the kids.
As a single woman, if you're not a single woman, if you are a woman without children, but you plan on having them, you need to start making your decisions as if you have them. You know what I'm saying? If you are a woman in that situation and you don't have children yet, you need to get out of it before you have children. That way they never have to experience it. Don't wait to have something worth saving yourself for. Save yourself for them before they're here.
That's why you notice, like on my channel, all we talk about is healing, right? The steps to healing, because I think that you have to be healed and whole. Because if you're broken and you have children, you're teaching them brokenness. You know what I'm saying? It's this little clip. I gotta find it. I'm gonna put it in Discord, right? Where the lady is walking across the street, but she's limping, right? And she's going across the street, and it's a little boy. He's following behind her, but he's limping purposely, right? And I don't know, have you ever seen the movie Coco?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so it's a cartoon movie, right? It's like Dead or Dead or something like that. And so the man is literally walking like a skeleton because he is a skeleton. And so he keep telling the little boy, stop doing that, stop doing that. That's not how I walk. And he was like, you walk just like that. Like you literally walk like that. So he was just copying him. You know what I'm saying? And just like with the lady, she was limping going across the street, but the man is literally, the little boy is, he's doing the same thing she's doing. And that's kind of like with life, right? They're gonna if a kid see you go through domestic violence, it becomes their norm because they think that that's part of life. How much I owe them? He out. He not here. Get it. Get it. He not here. He text him, Tay, call him and see where he at. My bad.
And one of the last things I want to say is that if you have sons, teach them how to process their emotions. Don't just have them. The only emotion that boys are allowed to exhibit is anger. That's the only emotion that little boys are allowed to exhibit.
I think that boys who are raised by a single woman, I call them he-motions, right? Because he's a man, but his emotions, he act just like a female. You know how when we get mad, like I remember this guy was like, I bust the windows out your house, I'm gonna flat your tires. And I'm like, don't girls do that? Like,
well, it's also boys around each other, little boys and men around each other. You can't be too. The only emotion you are allowed to exhibit and they won't tease you about is if you're angry, if you're mad. You can't even be too happy. Men can't even be too happy around another man because the first thing they say is, look at you cheesing ear to ear. What you grinning for? What you so happy about?
right.
What you giggling about? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Real happy right now. Men do that to other men. Men beat other men down, and they teach them that you are not allowed to have any emotions other than anger, and the only reason that you're allowed to show anger is because it shows your strength as a man.
Wow, that's deep. I like that, Jay. But
So
that's not fair. Ray just said that she allowed her son. She said, I let my son be upset and we talk about the feelings, right? And I think that's good because you have to be able to teach them to put stuff in its proper place. It's
exactly.
okay for them to be upset. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be it's okay for them to experience every emotion that everybody else feels.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be isolated. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? Like they shouldn't have to hide who they are or how they feeling just because somebody else, you around the wrong people. If a man gonna tell you what you laughing for or why you so happy, you in the wrong company, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Those are not your people.
Yep. But yeah, teach your sons and your daughters the same thing. Listen, when my children was coming up and they was getting on the age where I was like, I ain't gonna be able to watch you every moment. It's time for sexual education. Oh, we all gonna sit down in this living room and we all gonna learn about sexual education. I'm pull out these slides and I'm gonna show you what STDs look like, and I'm gonna show you how condoms work, and I'm gonna tell you what you need to do. Sit them all down and talk to them about their emotions, right? Like, okay, you're upset. Why are you upset? What happened? I'm mad because such and such, and you know, blah blah blah. And then I'll ask them. I'm like, so are you mad or are you hurt? You know what I'm saying? Because men will take all of those feelings. They'll take embarrassment, they'll take hurt, and they'll ball them all up into anger. And now I'm angry, but you're not angry. What you are is hurt, and you need to understand that that is a hurt, not an anger, and you need to process that hurt.
Okay.
Otherwise, you are conflating embarrassment with anger, and those are not the two. Those two are not the same thing. Now you're angry that you were embarrassed, but you're skipping past the I was embarrassed part, and you need to break down what you were embarrassed about and why. And is it something that you should be embarrassed about? Should you be embarrassed about this? You know what I'm saying? Oh, somebody said, because this is what little boys do. Oh, somebody said I had a big butt. And it embarrassed me because they said it in the classroom in front of everybody, and everybody laughed at me because so-and-so said I had a donk or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that embarrassment turned to anger, and that anger made me lash out physically. Now I want to fight because you embarrassed me. Okay, so let's break down the embarrassment. You were embarrassed because everybody laughed at you because of what a specific person said. Now let's look at what that person said. They said you had a big butt. Okay. Do you have a big butt? Well, yeah. Okay. So would it have been funny if it had happened to somebody else? Yeah, it would have been funny. Well, then it's something that you shouldn't be embarrassed about or angry about. You know what I'm saying? Let's work through what made you feel this anger right here so that you can intelligently process your emotions so that when you grow up, you ain't out here just lashing out at everybody for everything and thinking that it's anger when it's really a different emotion.
Right. I like that, Jay. I like that. You know what? That's going to have to probably be a discussion, right? Processing emotions, right? Because some people don't know how to properly process their emotions.
And that's what people
grown people.
That's what people
don't know how.
People, because I'm a Cancer, and you know what they like to say about cancers? Oh, Cancer's so emotional. They're crybabies, emotional. They just crybabies and emotional. No, yeah, we are emotional, but we are emotional masters. I am able to identify every emotion that I have. I know what it is.
Right.
I am emotional, but there's more than one emotion. All emotions don't lead to tears.
Right. I think that's another, we're going to have to break that down. Emotions, that is definitely going to have to be a topic. We're going to have to, we're going to do a deep dive on emotions and processing emotions, right? Processing emotions and how to understand your emotions. I got a niece that's a nurse too. I'm going to see if I can get her on here to talk about, because, you know, like my mentor is a nurse. And when it comes to having conversation with the kids about what you say about talking to them about sex and stuff like that, that's not my strong part. You know what I mean? Like I'm for real, Jay. Like we can something else. That's my topic. You know what I'm saying? But that's not my strong part. I wouldn't even know how to start that conversation. I don't know if I would be ready for the questions. Like,
girl, it's easy.
It ain't easy.
It is easy. You just sit them little rugrats down and you be like, look.
So and then you telling them how to use condom. Look, let me tell you something.
That's what you do. They in the 8th grade. What is you talking about? They seeing all kinds of stuff. They listen to music that says that kind of stuff, and that's your end. You could be like, oh, that song right there. You remember how such and such said, my coochie pink and my booty hole brown? Let me tell you why the coochie is pink and the booty hole is brown. Because you were out here singing it. How about we talk about it?
I'm gonna leave that to nurses. I can't talk to my children about that stuff, girl.
It ain't nothing I don't talk to my children about. Not a
because
I want you to know the truth, and I'm gonna tell you the truth. Like my poor nails, I'm gonna break it down for you, and I'm gonna tell you, I do not have the ability to not talk about it. I'm gonna say what I got to say. And you gonna hear it from me, because otherwise you might go out here and you might get some bad information out here. They out here passing around bad information. That is bad information. That is bad.
Right. You're right.
Oh, her booty hole is brown because it's doo-doo. No, her booty hole is brown because everybody's booty hole is brown. It's called a brown eye for a reason.
You're right. I'm gonna see if I can get my mentor up here to talk about that topic, right? Because her and Boo, they go to school.
You know how you go into it. You say, Ray, or JoJo, little JoJo. I heard that it's this little girl that you like up at the school, and that y'all be hanging out after school. What y'all be doing after school, Ray? What y'all be doing, JoJo? Y'all ever be by yourself? Okay, well, since you old enough that I ain't gonna be able to see you all the time, I'm gonna need you to know this, JoJo. Not everything that glitters is gold. All right. It ain't all gold. Some of that glitter is fool's gold. Okay. And some of them diamonds is moissanite. All right. They not real. You know what I'm saying? That's a crystal right there. And I need you to understand what is real. What is real is this box of condoms right here. This what you need. This what you're gonna need. All right. Because I know that you're getting them feelings and you're a little hot up under your collar and whatnot. And this box right here, this box is going to help you to make sure that you don't lose thousands of dollars before you start working. All right. And it's going to make sure that, you know, your little Petey bird don't end up looking like a toad with all of them bumps all over it. Because sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes some of these little girls, they be carrying stuff. You know what I'm saying? They got a few suitcases that they carrying on their back, and they like to pass them off to other people. And they might not even know that they got the suitcase, and they're going to pass it off to you. But you need to make sure that you don't pick up that suitcase. And that suitcase is a heavy burden to bear. Okay? You don't want to be bearing that all your life. So you're going to need to do this. And this is, you know, this is, pull it out. You're like, do you know how to use this? Let me tell you how you use it. Make sure that you hold the little tip and you roll it down on the Coca-Cola bottle. Because you ain't even got to use a banana, because the banana looked too much like it. And I felt the same way. So I said, let me get a Coca-Cola bottle. So I used the Coca-Cola bottle. Said you hold the tip and you roll it down like this, right? You roll it down like this. And that's how you use it. You make sure that when you pull it off, you hold that tip and you roll it. And then you tie it up and you throw it in the bed. And it worked for me. I ain't got no grandchildren. I ain't got no grandbabies.
I'm gonna have to figure out who can have that conversation, because you did it right. I'm gonna use that. I don't know how and when I'm gonna use it, right? But I got to get the Coca-Cola bottle. And you're right. I gotta buy some condoms, because my youngest are the twins. They 15. You know what I mean? And so,
oh girl, you was way overdue for this conversation, honey. What grade are they in?
The twin, they're in the 9th grade.
This conversation is supposed to happen in the 7th grade. They out here singing about booty holes and coochie lips.
They don't listen
in the
to that.
6th grade. Girl.
But I know my kids don't listen to that. But you know, I get what you're saying, right? It's gonna happen, right? And it's probably gonna be sometime in the next 30 days. This gonna be a conversation. But the next conversation that I'm thinking that we need to have is about emotions, processing and controlling your emotions, right? I think that's the next thing that we're going to discuss. And I think that's a good thing, right? Because as people, we got to learn how to process our emotions, right? You can't just be all over the place. And it's okay for everybody to feel the way that they want to feel. You know what I mean?
And we are always, as parents, talking about how can I keep my daughter from being in this situation? But we also need to ask the question, how can we keep our sons from becoming this? You know what I'm saying?
And
a lot of attention,
because men get abused too. Men get beat on
they
too
do.
by these girls. It's women out here who be putting their hands on men and they shouldn't, right? But you know, I like this conversation, and I'm gonna make sure, because I made sure I told my daughters, like, y'all need to be logged on, y'all need to be listening, because I believe Jay gonna help y'all. I believe Jay is going to really give us an insight, because you know, if you don't know something, you just don't know. You know what I mean? And sometimes people make comments, but it's out of ignorance, because they really don't know. They have no idea about the conversation. You know what I mean? Or the thing. They have no idea. And for
one
me,
of the reasons is because everybody is looking for abuse. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is trying to find the signs of how to not become a Cassie. You know what I'm saying? And that's not what we on this level of society deal with. What we have to deal with is domestic violence. Because if you can recognize the signs of domestic violence, you'll never be able to be in an abusive situation. Because they're two different things. So we ain't trying to my thing is, Cassie, not saying that it doesn't happen every day. It does happen every day. We know what human trafficking is. We know that all prostitutes out there on the stroll ain't out there, of their own free will. You know what I'm saying? That type of abuse does happen, but the most common type of abuse that happens is domestic violence. And that's all I can talk about, because I'm not going to sit here and say that I was an abuse victim like that, but I was I'm not going to call myself a victim either. I'm going to say I participated in a domestic violence situation, because I did participate in that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I did. I just wasn't the strong one. You know what I'm saying? I did. So we need to teach them how to not participate or partake in the domestic violence side of the situation, because that is 9 times out of 10 the type of thing that we are dealing with is domestic violence, and not the abuse part. Abuse typically comes with addiction, a drug or alcohol addiction. You usually don't get that type of human trafficking, Cassie type of abuse without a drug, right? Okay. On the part of the perpetrator and the victim. We're talking about your day-to-day, mom and pop down the street, domestic violence. That's what we want to stop all type of abuse. We want it all to end. But what we can affect is the domestic violence side of it, to make sure that that is not happening inside of our children's homes and our loved ones' lives, because that's the most common.
Okay. I didn't know that, but I can understand that. I appreciate you today, Jay. I'm telling you, I really do appreciate you, because you really helped me today. I don't know if you help anybody else, but for me, I know that you really helped me. And as a mom, like, as the more you know, the better it is, right? Like, man, Jay, Discord, you got to give me your phone and like, we got to chat. We got to chop it up, because we got other stuff to talk about. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing your story with us today. I am so glad that you came out. I'm glad ain't nothing happened to you, that you are able to live and to help other people. I really do appreciate that.
You're welcome, girl. I
feel like I need to sow a seed, like we in church, girl. Like, I gotta sow a seed. So you gotta, in the Discord, I gotta get your cash up something. I gotta send you a little something, because I appreciate this today. I really do. And I
ain't got no problem telling my story. I ain't got no problem telling people any things about my life, because I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones. I've been to many, many funerals. You know what I'm saying? I've been to many, many funerals. I've seen a whole lot of people not make it to be able to say this happened to me over 25 years ago or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? This happened to me 20 years ago. Not a lot of people, there are, but I've known a lot of people who didn't get here. You know what I'm saying? For various reasons. So I'm very blessed to have been able to make the age that I've made and still be young and sexy, girl. Yes, I am a person. All right, because I've been to a lot of funerals. I've been to a lot of funerals for violence. You know what I'm saying? Just people just losing their lives over nothing, and a lot of times it is unchecked emotions that causes those deaths. Unprocessed emotions. Most violent deaths come from unprocessed emotions. So I think you're right. Your next live should definitely be on emotional intelligence.
Right. And I appreciate you. We're going to end it, because we at our 2-hour mark, and you know me, I be saying we gonna stay for 2 hours. That's it. Like, you know me.
We got stuff to do, girl.
I am going to hit you up in the Discord. Like, I want to thank my listeners for tuning in. Thank y'all for coming through. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for your likes. If you don't like it, you can dislike. It's all good. I appreciate y'all. Jay, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I appreciate you for sharing your story, girl. You just don't know how much you have helped me today. Neff said, great live. Thank you, Neff. All right, Jay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you later, girl.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right, you guys. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We gonna chop it up next week. If you guys have like any good topics that we need to talk about, like I think the emotional one is very good. I'm gonna hit Voodoo up to see if I can get her on here to break down the science behind it. But y'all hit me up. Y'all, everybody that's in here know how to contact me. Facebook, Discord, like y'all know how to contact me. Text me. Y'all got my phone number. Give me some good subjects. But thank y'all so much for tuning in, and I will see y'all again next week, Saturday, 12:30. All right, y'all have a good day.